Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me today. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a recap video on all of the paint reviews I've done. I was thinking about it yesterday. I've done so many paint reviews, 19 to be exact. That's a lot of paint reviews. So I started thinking, because I get asked all of the time about paint that I maybe used 6 months ago in a review video. And so someone starts asking me a lot of particulars about that paint and how I like it and all of the things. And then, honestly, if it's a paint that I don't like or haven't used after that review video, or I used it and didn't care for it, I thought, I bet it would be a really great video to recap all of the reviews. And I have done my top paints. So this is not like that. I'm not going to go over them and compare them, but what I want to do is talk about each one and tell you which ones I do use today and tell you which ones I didn't end up liking. So all of the reviews I've done, I want you to know I am not sponsored and I am not paid by any of the paint companies that I've done reviews for, so it's a completely impartial review. I would say that probably about 95% of the paints that I have reviewed, I have paid for myself. There have been a few that have sent me some paint to try out. But again, my review is still very impartial. It is my opinion, my experience. You may love a paint that I absolutely did not love, and that's totally okay. I just want to share with you my experience over the years and tell you which ones, kind of give you an update on the ones I've reviewed. So I made a list because I really wanted to see over the time how many. Like I said, 19. We're going to go through these. And I'm going to tell you if I use it, if I would use it, if I liked it, and if I didn't like it after the review video. What I do always say in my videos is I'm painting a small sample board. Sometimes that's not enough to get a really good feel on a paint. So sometimes you have to, I have to go and venture out and use it on a piece. If I like it in my video, I will try it on a piece in my shop. Typically, I'll try it on something small, and then decide if it's something that I'm going to keep using, incorporate into my daily paint rotation, or if it's just not for me. So let's start. So the first one was one I did recently, Bungalow 47. That is a chalk paint. I picked that up at a local retailer, just wanted to try it. There was a color that really appealed to me. Did the video, wasn't bad, didn't love it, didn't hate it. Used it on a very small piece of furniture I had here in the shop, didn't love it. Just not for me. So I have one particular chalk paint that I use, and sometimes we just develop our favorites and there's things that work for us. That just wasn't one for me. It was not a bad paint, and the price point was very comparable to all of the other chalk paints out there. So it had nothing to do with that. It was just the way it felt. So that is not one that I use, and that one that I can speak to or recommend for you to use. Farmhouse Paint. I tried that a while back. That one, I actually liked that one. I never used it again on a piece of furniture, and I can't really tell you why. Sometimes, and I just get so busy that I put something aside and I completely forget that I even have it. I have so much paint in my cabinet that sometimes they just kind of get lost in the shuffle. But I did like that one, and I did like it in the review. So that one is kind of a stay tuned because I can't really speak to it. I've never used it again after my review video. The Chippy Barn. That's actually one in my review video I really loved, and I have stocked up and keep it on my shelves. I like the either spraying it or brushing it. I really, really like the Chippy Barn. It's a different formula paint. It's not a chalk paint. It's a ceramic paint. I had to think about that for a minute. It almost said acrylic, but it's a ceramic paint. It's a really cool paint. The coverage on the Chippy Barn has got to be one of the top coverage paints I've ever used. Love it. Most every color that I have used with the Chippy Barn, and I've used a lot of them, 2 coats and your coverage is full. So really like the Chippy Barn. I do use that today. I would recommend it, and I can speak to it because it's kind of been a regular in my rotation of paints. The other one was a Retique It I loved, so the Reticket, I tried their liquid wood, which I have a video on that, and I also tried, they make a chalk paint. I love the Reticket wood, liquid wood product. It is so cool. So if you haven't checked out that video, make sure you do. The chalk paint was just okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. I did use it on a small frame that I had laying around the shop because I wanted to kind of play with it a little bit more, and it was absolutely just fine. So it was very comparable to other chalk paints. There was nothing that set it apart. But again, I have certain chalk paint that I like to use. It is the first one I ever used, and it's kind of, I've just been faithful to it ever since because it works for me and I like it. Okay, which leads me to this, the Annie Sloan chalk paint. That one has been with me since day one. That was my very first piece of furniture I ever painted, was with Annie Sloan. I painted my kitchen cabinets with Annie Sloan. I still use it today. I don't use it for solid pieces per se, but I use it for a lot of my blending projects. I find for me that the Annie paint blends flawlessly. It is just such a good paint. I use it with water, and I do this beautiful blended top that is very highly requested, and love it. Love it, love it, love it. Have a ton of it still on my shelves and use it today. Now, like I said, I don't use it for the majority of like solid painting. I like to use it for my blended projects. All right, Wise Owl. So Wise Owl has two products I've used and review, and the first one is their chalk paint. I have several colors of their chalk paint. I like it. It's not bad, it's not good. It's just one of those chalk paints that's very comparable to a lot of others. A lot of times what sets one apart from another is their color line. If they're very similar in finish, then a lot of times it's their color line that will kind of set them apart or make them more desirable. I love, love, love Wise Owl's color line. They come out with great colors all the time. So I do use Wise Owl. I would be able to speak to it and tell you it's a great paint. I've painted several pieces with it. Does have to be sealed like all chalk paints, but it's a great paint. Now, Wise Owl makes another paint called 1 Hour Enamel, which I love their 1 Hour Enamel. What it is what it says on the label. 1 Hour Enamel, dries in 1 hour. It is an enamel-based paint. It's preferably sprayed just because it comes out so much better. It's such a quick set type of paint that brushing it can maybe be problematic. I didn't experience that, but I have read that some people say, wow, it dries so fast or sets up so quick, it's hard for me to get a really good finish. I only spray the 1 Hour Enamel. I love it. I keep it on my shelves, and it is a great, extremely durable, all-in-one product. So I really, really like that one. Let's see. Jolie. Jolie, I did a while back. I like Jolie paints. It is a chalk paint. It is a beautiful paint. The thing about Jolie that I liked so much was their website was so incredibly helpful. So much knowledge. They share so much. They show you different techniques. It's a very smooth paint, very easy to work with. I have painted several pieces in Jolie. I haven't restocked in quite a long time, but again, not for any bad reason. I just kind of get in the groove of using my normal paints, and some of them just fall by the wayside. But it's a great paint, and I can speak to that one. Loved working with it. Fusion Mineral Paint. That is in my rotation still. It is a paint that I use often. I like their color line. Fusion is an all-in-one, so it's got a top coat built in. It dries down to a very matte finish, so it dries more like a chalk paint, but it is a mineral-based all-in-one paint. It sprays and brushes beautifully. Still use it today and would recommend it. A lot of people use Fusion. Now, one of the things that I read often about Fusion is oh, I have issues with brush strokes. I've never personally had that, but that can come from, and I say this all the time, is your tools. It's not only your tools, but it's also the way, your technique. So, you know, when you're just a beginner, sometimes that is very challenging. I actually was just recently coaching somebody, and she started with Fusion, and that was the first thing she said. I see brush strokes. So I hear that a lot, and it's not the paint. A lot of times you just have to kind of get the right combo down. Some of these paints that I'm talking about also work extremely well when you use a mister, a spray bottle, to keep either your brush very hydrated or your piece itself. Some of them just set up pretty quickly, and that's where you can get brush strokes. So I really, really like that paint and definitely still use it today. General finishes. You guys probably know if you follow me on any of my social, that's my top paint. That is my number one. That was the second paint I had ever tried when I started my career, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and still today am a big advocate for general finishes. It is just my top paint of choice for many reasons. It's a self-leveling, self-sealing paint. It's very durable. They have a professional line. They have stains. I just really like all of their products. So that one, you ask me anything about it and I can pretty much tell you everything, because I've just gotten to know so much about their products over the years. So that is my number one paint that I use today for the majority of my work. Let's see, Mudpaint. I did a review on Mudpaint I guess that was a while back, but I liked Mudpaint. Mudpaint was different for me. It was a very thick consistency. I completely remember it. It was more like a chalk paint, if you will. I remember, I think I thinned it out in my review. I have not used it since. I did a small project on it in the shop after I got it. And again, it wasn't one I hated, but it wasn't one that I said, yeah, I'm going to put this in the rotation and use it all the time. So I have not restocked any mud paint, so I can't really speak to future, or not future, but I can't really speak to any projects that I had done past the review video. So not bad, just not my choice. Again, you guys have to remember, there's so many paints on the market. A lot of them, it's just a personal choice. It's just like finding makeup that works for you. I might wear Estee Lauder, but that might not work for you, right? So there's so many different formulas and combinations of paints that work for some that don't for others. Let's see, this was a big one, and I got a lot of feedback on this. Actually, it was two videos because they make two different paints, but Rust-Oleum chalk paint and Rust-Oleum milk paint. They were not my favorite. They were okay. Probably one of my most watched review videos was the Rust-Oleum ones. And I got some comments that were not so great, like I said, but you know what? I try to always say, listen, I love hearing positive comments and I will always answer your questions. But Rust-Oleum for me didn't work. Didn't like it. I did try both paints on something small in the shop after the video, and it just was not my thing. So I ended up doing a giveaway and I gave those away to somebody and she loved them. So you see, it's just a personal choice. So Rust-Oleum, I get asked about a lot. Wouldn't use it, don't use it, not my favorite. Dixie Belle. Dixie Belle is a really great paint. I have used it over the years at the request of my client if they have a special or specific color, because Dixie Belle is not a bad paint at all. I really like Dixie Belle. It has more of a matte finish. I don't believe you have to seal Dixie Belle, but I would, just because I like a little bit more of a satiny finish, and most of my clients, that's what they like too. But I just recently used Dixie Belle at the request of a client who wanted a specific color. I had no problems working with it. I can speak to using it. It's a great product. They have a great color selection, and they have a whole encompassing line that is great of different products. So I really like Dixie Belle, and I would continue to use that with no problem. I don't keep it stocked on my shelves. I don't have a local retailer near me, and it's just not a paint that I use on my regular rotation, but I would if somebody wanted only Dixie Belle products used. I have no problem using the Dixie Belle products. They're great. Sloan, I already talked about that one. That was my first. Herloom Traditions. That's another one of my big review videos. That was a really highly watched video, and I liked Herloom Traditions. Heirloom is an all-in-one paint. It can be used on multiple surfaces, and a lot of these paints can, but some not so much. Heirloom really, they claim you can use it on fabric and you can use it on wood and metal and all the things. I liked the Heirloom paint in my paint review, and I went ahead and did paint a piece afterwards and liked it just the same. Didn't stand out for me. Like, I didn't think, oh my God, I have to run out and get all colors in this paint. So it wasn't a bad paint. I have not used it regularly, so I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I can tell you from what I did use, I did like it and I would use it again. It is a good paint. All right, so the next one is one that is probably one of my highest watched videos and my most commented on, and the one I've received most messages about, and some not so nice, which always surprises me, but it happens. Anyway, it was the Valspar paint review. One of the reasons I even decided to do the Valspar paint review is I had a client with a custom piece that brought me the paint swatch of Valspar color from Lowe's and wanted that exact color. I didn't want to mess with trying to mix it. She knew what she wanted. And so I went to Lowe's, got it in the Valspar furniture paint, and started my review because I thought, well, why not? This is a new paint, let's check it out. Anyway, I believe in my video, I also showcased painting the actual piece in the video. So I had a lot more experience with this than just doing my normal practice board. But I believe I mentioned in the video something about a little bit of a challenge and making a comment about brush strokes. And I got several people saying it must be operator error. Listen, I said earlier that brush strokes are not typically the paint's fault. It's tools, it's technique, but it is also product. There are some products that you may see that more than others. And I get a lot of feedback about a lot of these paint reviews where somebody says, my brush strokes were horrible and I've been doing this for years. So sometimes keep in mind, even though I say tools and technique, definitely product has a huge, huge role in how something is going to go on and how your finish is going to look. Anyway, I just didn't love the Valspar. To me, it felt like when I paint, and I remember this, but it felt like painting with household paint. And yes, I'm positive it was their furniture formula, but it felt like a latex paint. It felt very gummy when it was going on. I felt like it was kind of hard to work with. In the end, the piece came out beautiful, but it took a lot of work. And I thought after I did that, absolutely, I would not use that paint again. So it's not one I recommend. It's actually one I think from time to time, I probably should take that video down just because still today, after all this time it's been up, it's amazing what people will tell you and they share with you that isn't so positive. So anyway, moving on. Magnolia paint. Now that's the Joanna Gaines Magnolia line. I tried this paint. I tried it on a piece of furniture after my review video and I liked it. It's a chalk paint. It is very similar to a lot of the chalk paints out there. There's nothing that set it apart for me being different. There was some really beautiful colors in her color line, and I remember I picked a gorgeous emeraldy kind of green and it was really pretty. I tried it again later and I discovered not so much. I just didn't love it. Now, one of the things that actually I really didn't love about was where I had to buy it was at Target, and it was not stocked well. And I remember talking about this in my video. Part of the process of going through these paint reviews for you guys is talking about their color line, their product line, if you buy it in person, how it's presented. If you're buying it on their website, how it's presented. Is it easy to buy? I mean, because you have to think about, if you've never used a paint before, you want it to be as flawless as a process as possible so that you don't know what you're doing. So you're thinking, well, I don't know, am I buying the right paint? Do I need this finished product? Do I need that finished product? What do I need? So for me, when I'm reviewing a paint, I look at all those things. I was not impressed with the setup. You couldn't get the paint. There was nowhere else I could buy the paint. So I don't know how it is today. I actually haven't been back in Target in a long time, but it was a paint that I did like in my review. And then after the fact of trying it on two pieces, not so much. So it's not a paint that I have in my shop or that I use at all. Country Chic. Country Chic paint is a really fun paint line. I loved their paint line. I actually have about, I don't know, 3 or 4 jars of Country Chic, and I would still use it today. There's nothing at all about this paint that I had anything negative to say. They have a great product line, a great color line, super helpful. I didn't have a retailer near me. I remember they shipped it to me and I was impressed with all the materials they ship it with, including how-to instructions, which is so awesome for introductory painters. That's great. So, because that's the one thing you want to know, all the things about what you're going to be using and how to use it best. So I really, really liked Country Chic. I liked it in my review video and I still like it today. And then the last one was Amy Howard Paint. Amy Howard Paint, I believe I got that at my local Ace Hardware. And this was another one. I didn't really love Amy Howard Paint. And I got a lot of people saying that they couldn't understand why. And again, I'm gonna tell you guys the same thing I say in all my videos, but it's my experience and my opinion. What I might love, you don't, and vice versa. So that was not one I really liked. I bought a couple of jars of it. It was a little bit more on the expensive side for the amount of paint that you got. I do remember that. And I just wasn't thrilled with it. Never would use it again. I just felt like it wasn't easy to use, and that's something that I really look for, because if I'm going to recommend something to somebody who's just starting, I'm going to recommend something that I know is going to be one of the easiest products to use, right? Because you don't want the struggle in the beginning, or you may never pick up a paintbrush again. So anyway, that is it, you guys. That is my list of my 19 paint reviews that I have done so far. I know there are more out there. I'm always looking to do other paint reviews. I like to give you guys all of the information that I can give you, because when you're just starting out, or when you're just starting maybe to switch over to different products, it is so helpful to have as much information about that product that you can have, because you know, this is not only a fun hobby or business to do, but it's something that you need to kind of figure out what works for you, and hopefully some of these paint reviews and this video today will help you do that. So thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for being subscribers. I so appreciate it. If you have any positive comments or questions, please leave them down below. And one thing I want to mention to you guys, I teach. I coach. I do it virtually. I coach and teach on how to take your hobby to a business, how to paint, different techniques, all things encompassing of what I do. So keep that in mind. If you ever have a need for that, definitely reach out to me, because I absolutely love, that's one of the most favorite things that I love about what I do, is teaching other people how to do it. So just keep that in mind for the future. All right, you guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.